I feel like going in now. You feel like going in, Roy?
Yeah, I like the look of that, yeah. That would have been lovely to go in there.
I just had a nice little breaststroke over there and back. Have you got any towels?
Is the treble the greatest achievement in British football?
Look at what Nottingham Forest did. Won the league and then won 2 European Cups.
That's amazing, that's crazy.
That mad week in terms of winning the last game, you're down at Spurs, the FA Cup. I think that adds to that story.
My worst season for United was the season after the treble. I wonder whether just the actual sort of pinnacle of reaching it was like, and then all of a sudden you just naturally go, The Overlap on Tour is brought to you by Sky Mobile.
1986, the dark days of Man United on Atkinson.
So basically, Ron Atkinson was manager, then he was sacked in November, or whenever it was, October, November, and the boss came in. The change in the youth setup straight away was unbelievable. There was a guy called Ray Woods running it. He was a good guy, Ray. But all of a sudden, the season after, that's when Kiddo came in, Nobby Stiles came in, Archie, the boss, and Eric Harrison used to come down to the training sessions, and they were down there every Monday and Thursday night.
What, with
most
the kids?
weeks, yeah, most weeks. Because down there was like the 12s to 15s or 16s. And the emphasis on it and the time they put into it around that time with Les Kershaw and Brian Kidd, and it was unbelievable, honestly.
Yeah,
and you think about that.
Obviously, it was probably going round that we've got a few here. We've got to go.
But right, that's 86, and then they had this thing that they've got to get every best kid in Manchester. So they went and got Giggsy like within a few years. They went and got Butty and Scholesy from Blackpool. They went and got my brother from, I think my brother was at Blackpool. I was already there. They went and got kids, just went and got the best kids. And you think about 99, and then getting the best players in the country like Roy, and getting, Yap Stamps, some of the best players. You assemble a team, everything that has to go right to get that to happen. And the way in which it did, you know what I mean? It's like, because it'd never been done before, obviously the treble. It was a lot of work to go into that, and a lot of things have to fall into place. Schmeichel, Dennis, you think about the recruitment of players. Like Dennis is £700,000 or £800,000 from Oldham. Like, I mean, seriously, Dennis Irwin's the best fullback you'll ever see. I mean, 700,000 quid.
Mm. Yeah.
It's just a lot of things. There's a lot of things.
So it felt like it wasn't just that team. It felt like this was like you know what I'd say that almost like a journey to get there for a long time. And I always remember an interview I seen with George Best about, when they won the European Cup in '68, and it probably goes back to Munich, and it was almost like this journey to sort of, and he almost said...
Well, must be rebuilt the team after '58, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I just think you look at it and think, it felt like a peak moment in what Manchester United, winning games, having the best of British players, the best of sort of players from around Europe, the best of homegrown players, winning games in the last minute, exciting. It just felt like the perfect, moment, really. I don't think it can ever... I'm not sure it can ever get as good for Man United. That's a strange thing.
I know what you mean,
Do you know what I mean? You think about sort of like the 1968 or... I'm not sure it can ever get as good as that. That's like a pinnacle of a club's moment, you know what I mean? Maybe I'm being a bit...
No, I mean, how can you do better than win the treble? The way the way you won it.
Well done about the treble. You see, like City doing the treble, and you're just talking about where you've built that team from, and everything that comes with that team, the kudos of that team, like Scholes yourself and Bex and Giggs, and then you bring, like before, obviously you're bringing Roy in that, and you've done the treble in how you've done it, and you've done it in a way where it's like you literally had to, you pulled it out of the teeth sometimes with the fire. And then you see City coming and they do the treble. How does it make you feel when they've done the treble?
It didn't impact me at all in terms of feeling like they've done what we did in '99. Did you feel? I didn't feel anything like that, right?
You begrudged it. What? No.
Yeah, no, I thought.
You think it's still an amazing achievement, even with
amazing
all their
achievement.
resources.
Oh, amazing achievement.
Yeah, you can't begrudge the teams that are going off and doing well. No, of course not.
I think yours is more famous.
Oh no,
I say famous, not just because you were first. I think what you're talking about, the local lads, the emotion, the history of the club.
The way we did it, it's more dramatic.
City just feels like a bit like, I don't know.
I don't want to be feel like negative towards it, but they've got the capability of building that with the money they've got. When you talk about who's come through, excuse me, United, to get to the place in '99 where you can finally win something of that stature. The story's amazing.
But I don't.
Because we're talking about from '86 then.
I don't look at our treble achievement as being more sort of significant than City's in terms of achievement. I do think it's a better story and more dramatic.
Yeah.
because the games were more dramatic. I mean, the games we had in that
this is
season.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so the story and the drama was greater.
Yeah.
But the achievement is equal, I think. I would say. I wouldn't.
The only thing,
begrudge-
what you said earlier now, the bit that used to worry me at the time, and when you were saying, like, after the game, and players would do interviews at United going, you know, you'll never again reach them heights.
No.
And that used to irritate me a little bit. Deep down you know, but you don't want to be saying it because you go, obviously the whole point of playing sport or playing for United is you want to get back to that.
Yeah.
However way you do it
Yeah.
and try and win 2 or 3 trophies in one season. So I used to get frustrated with that a little bit when I heard them noises.
The Overlap on Tour is brought to you by Sky Mobile.
The network that lets you roll your data and keep it longer than anyone else.
For more information, visit sky.com/shop/mobile. You know, when you speak about maybe players coming out and saying, you know, it's the pinnacle, it can never get better. I always think that probably the one thing United have never done, that probably all the other big teams in Europe has done, is have a domination of Europe, you know, for like sort of 2 or 3 years of like winning it.
Yeah.
Do you think, do you maybe think that had something to do with it, or, you know, the thought of it can't get any better than this, or
maybe there's
you need a bit of luck?
Well, you certainly need a bit of luck.
Yeah.
There's elements of that. But we know how hard it is to dominate. Obviously, that word, just to dominate Europe. Maybe the team wasn't quite strong enough to dominate in Europe. But yeah, certainly to get back to 1 or 2 more finals for that team. I know it took a number of years to get back. And of course, it's not easy. But that was always a concern of mine, even with leagues. You think people might switch off or relax. But when players are coming out and saying it, I'd be like, no, surely you want to get back there.
You did that famous interview, obviously, after the Bayern Munich game, I think it was 2001, where you basically said, maybe it's the end of this team, maybe this team feels like it's something along those lines.
Why'd you say that, Cap? Why'd you say that?
Do you know what? Sometimes I would come out and say, remember we were world player of the league at that time. But sometimes part of my mindset would be just trying to keep people on their toes.
Yeah.
Just trying to hand grenade in your own dressing room, saying, listen, let's not relax here. And it's as simple and as innocent as that, really.
I've never thought of it, you know, but like I actually thought of it the other day when I was doing something, that my worst season for United was the season after the treble. That's when I lost my confidence. I had the nightmare in Euro 2000 with Kevin Keegan. And it took me a season to get over it. I wonder whether just the actual sort of pinnacle of reaching it was like, and then all of a sudden you just naturally go,
Yeah, of course.
and you breathe and you just go, and the thing is, it was so hard for us to win the Champions League that I think the year after against Real Madrid, we just thought that we wouldn't have to work as hard to beat them again. And it wasn't a great Real Madrid team. It wasn't the greatest Real Madrid team, that, you know what I mean? They were struggling in their league at the time, I think. It was the one with Steve McManaman in and Redondo and people like that.
Yeah, but they
battered us.
I know, but how many times can you say that about a Real Madrid team over the years? Where you go, they're not that great, they're struggling, and
They
they
battered
produce
us.
in the Champions League.
But Roy, they battered. You played the game when Redondo played him.
Yeah, he done that
when he
turn
done
on
the bit
Helen
of skill
Bill.
down in the bottom
They
there.
battered us, honestly, and it's like, I don't think we applied the same detail and attention.
I can get over that game. I can get over the Real Madrid game. There's certain games you can get over, but there was other games. We've all done it in our careers. There was games in Europe we left slip.
You
by.
mentioned Leverkusen.
Listen, against Leverkusen, I'm not saying these teams weren't good, but we just felt you were the better of them. Porto game, injury time, late in the game, there was
Is that
moments.
Mourinho running down the line?
Of course, you could do that with lots of games, obviously. I'm sure Bayern Munich players could sit around and talk about 99, they let that one go. But remember, we've had conversations before with teams who've battled it. Sometimes the decision goes your way.
Is the treble the greatest achievement in British football or not? The 99 one.
Yeah, but if you start making a point that it was, then you're just being biased.
No, I'm not. I'm asking.
No,
the
I know
question.
that. Yeah, but
I'm not interested, to be honest with you. I've never asked the question before. I'm asking it for purpose of probably more Carragher and writing.
Probably what you said before about City have done it, haven't they? And other teams have done it in Europe, I suppose. But you're talking about British football. I mean, you could probably look at Nottingham. If you're looking at one season, you look at what Nottingham Forest did.
Yeah.
Where they came up, won the league, and then won 2 European Cups year after year. I mean, you think about that, that is like
That's
mad.
amazing. That's crazy.
Your story, as you say, like the academy lads, the journey.
Yeah, it's a brilliant story.
The last minute goals in terms of like a season of.
in '99. But if you analyse '99, that mad week in terms of winning the last game, you're down at Spurs, the FA Cup, all happening. I think that adds to that story.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's more of a. But as you said, the achievements of some of these teams, that people who played in the '80s and the must get fed up with
we're obsession with the Premier
Yeah.
League or what's happened the last 10 or 15 years. But what Forest done, Villa done,
Amazing.
Liverpool in the 80s,
I'm comfortable with
Leicester,
For-
Blackburn winning titles.
I'm comfortable with Forest and Leicester being greater
Can I be
achievements. To be
honest?
fair.
Can I just say the treble is always going to be like, for me, it's an amazing achievement. I just think that it's brilliant that you mentioned Forest as well. You have to mention what they've done. They came up from the second division and then won the league and then won that twice.
It's unbelievable.
That
Right?
is
That's amazing. But like what Leicester's done in this current
Yeah,
set,
Leicester's unbelievable.
I think that probably goes down as from a British
Yeah.
point of view in respect of an achievement. I just think that's amazing what Leicester done with the players they had.
But yeah, I know. It's mad,
It's
isn't it?
really fucking mad. But like the thing is as well, again, Forest, and just because it's in the time, it was the 80s and that is a phenomenal achievement. What Forest done? It's fucking crazy.
It's an amazing story.
Amazing.
Forest
I watched that Miracles. Have you watched it?
yeah.
I watched it. I was like, hang on a minute. People need to see this, and they need to do more in respect of recognising those kind of
Well, you know what?
achievements.
You know what's unbelievable about that? Nottingham Forest are the only team in Europe who've won the European Cup more than their own domestic league. Mad, innit?
That was amazing. That team, what they done there.
Are we going in, lads? Are you in for a swim? Come on.
No,
I don't know. I don't know, Roy. Now, I've had this drink. They put a lot more rum than I thought they'd put in it.
I might go
I'll
and dive. I might go and
end up,
dive
like,
off them
killing
rocks.
myself. You what?
I might go and dive off them rocks. The Overlap on Tour is brought to you by Sky Mobile.